Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network. iHeartMedia is the #1 media company in the United States of America, and Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, Big C, according to Big C and his good old boys down south, and also from some of those good old boys at the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum. In fact, if you pick up the Sports Illustrated today, you'll happen to see one of the good old boys. He looks like the same guy, Big C, that dumped that moonshine or Gatorade or whatever it was on me, but my jersey's still in the cleaners, Big C. And also I want to say thank you so much to all of our listeners in Latin America. Bienvenidos to you. We know you were over in the house last night when the Oakland Raiders came to town and took on the good old boys from Houston, Texas, and the Raiders came out with a 27-20 victory. So thank you very much. Bienvenidos again. Also, I want to say thank you to all of our listeners from across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Even Putin had time to get up the tap lines, Big C. He stopped tapping phones for just about an hour so he could hear the Charlton and Big C Sports Show, Big C. Also, I want to say thank you to your good old boys up in Canada, our home and favorite land. Now, I worked on that, Big C, so I don't think I'm getting as many hate mails. But, Big C, I really want to say thank you to you good old boys in the land of the free and the home of the brave, the United States. But how's it going for you good old boys down south, Big C?
I thought it was going to be AP. I thought somebody was going to shoot me a 6 or a 12 pass. Yeah. Threw that song out there again. You have to leave them guys alone, but I can at least get my delivery in here. Everything was going great, Charles. A nice sunny day when I snuck up on a couple of turkeys and they had the field sunny like a snake on the rock.
Yeah, that's funny.
Now they'll be in the oven on Thursday, going like a nice burger shoe.
Yeah. That is so funny when you good old boys, you know, when you guys come to California, you wonder why are these stores so crowded? Everybody's trying to get turkey. Well, our turkey's usually frozen, but you good old boys get them hot right out the field, Big C, from what I understand.
Ain't nothing like the fresh food, Charles. I mean, it has a whole new taste to it. You city slickers and stuff, you being handed to you.
Yeah, that's true.
You got to go out and work for a meal, you really appreciate it.
Yeah, you do appreciate it a lot more, Big C. And speaking of appreciated, this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive it, tell them you want the one that Charlton and Big C drives, and tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. I'm downtown in Golden One Center, Sacramento, California, home of the Sacramento Kings. But Big C, there's so many things happening in the world of football. We talked about the black hole and how we went down there to a Raider game, and that's a great environment to see a football game. The Raiders are now tied with New England for the top spot in the AFC, and everybody right now is talking. As I'm seeing an Escalade drive by right now, Big C. I know it's not money, so it's not yours, but it certainly is a choice vehicle, Big C. But everyone is talking about the game when the great Tom Brady played against the Oakland Raiders. It's called the Tuck Rule, and so many people in the Bay Area are saying they would love to have a rematch of the Tuck Rule. Big C, your thoughts on that as you talk about the game last night?
Well, you know, you think about the Raiders, Charlton, and how hot they are. You know, they went into Mexico City, they arrived, you know, day of the game and everything. And to get acclimated to the climate, you know, your body takes at least 48 hours to get acclimated.
Yeah.
But when you arrive at the yards, you really don't feel the effects of it as much. But this is just going to show how well this organization's been put together the past couple of years by the GM, Reggie McKenzie. I know Jack Del Rio is going to get a lot of credit as being the head coach. Yeah. But Reggie McKenzie has to be the executive of the year in the NFL, Charlton. When you look at the body of work
he built the team
that he has done, assembling this cast of players through free agency and through draft, Charlton, the Raiders are right now at the pinnacle. And when you look at the Raiders, how well they're playing, they played well. I mean, it was a perfect game for their defense to get healthy.
Yeah.
Brock Osweiler, and his struggles this year are well documented after signing the big free agent contract coming over from Denver. Yeah. You know, being disgruntled because Peyton Manning was allowed to win the Super Bowl championship and he only received the ring. Yeah. But, you know, he came over and he still has not developed or delivered the product that they expected. This team is in the same position that they were in last year with Brian Hoyer as quarterback. They were a playoff team. They lost in the first round to a hot Kansas City team, Charlton. But Brock Osweiler, and even the announcers are starting to even talk about it. Oh, yeah. He has to do more as a veteran NFL quarterback than what he has done. You think about it. In the last 2 2 years, Charlton, the last 2 seasons, last year in Denver and this year in Houston, he's only won 10 games as a starter.
I know it.
Over the last 2 seasons. And people talk about him like he's the next great coming of an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
But in 2 seasons and you win 10 games, that means you get a high-round draft pick, Charlton.
Yeah, well, Big C, and so many things that we were talking about that before the season even began, how he was not a good quarterback. He couldn't even beat out a guy with a broken neck that was playing his definitely last year in the great Peyton Manning and Brock Osweiler. In fact, the thing that was so weird about Denver, Peyton Manning had a broken neck, and the doctors put a cast on his foot, Big C. So I guess the neck bone's connected to the foot bone, Big C. We learned that in kinesiology. But at the same time, you know, I want to give you credit because you were saying he doesn't have the right mechanics, especially when the pressure's on. Now, he's pretty decent when he's just standing in the pocket in practice because nobody's rushing him, Big C. When he has that red uniform on that they don't let you hit the quarterback. But Khalil Mack got a sack last night, could have had a couple more, and they had so much pressure on Osweiler. He did throw for over 230 yards, but that's not a lot when you consider you had Dak Prescott just fresh out of college throwing for 300 yards a game, Big C, and he's not making anywhere near $75 million or $72 million or whatever it is. So what is it that you saw that guys like Todd McShay and guys like Mel Kiper and all these prognosticators on ESPN and the NFL Network and Fox Sports, and they were all saying that this guy he's a can't-miss guy because he's 6'8". What were you seeing that they did not see, Big C?
Well, you know, the thing with Brock Osweiler is you see with a lot of tall quarterbacks, and they have a tendency to throw sidearms.
He does.
Okay, because you're 6'8" does not mean that you're going to throw over the top of defenders.
Yeah.
And by throwing sidearms, you're throwing into the arms of defensive linemen and linebackers on a regular basis. And if you look at a lot of his balls, that's what has happened with him, Charlton. He's had a lot of balls tipped. He's had some interceptions, deflections. And you know, he's not a prototypical quarterback. When you look at a quarterback like Drew Brees, who delivers the ball over the top, every delivery, because of the minute is stature. And he delivers the ball on time, all the time. Brock Osweiler, you know, it's like a poor man's Aaron Rodgers right now. You know, you got all this potential.
Yeah. But
what have you done for me lately? And Brock Osweiler, like I said, in the last 2 seasons, 10 wins is not a great amount of wins, and only 5 in each of the past 2 years. So at this pace right now, you look at the slide that the Houston Texans are on, and this quarterback that everybody prays that he's going to be the future of the franchise. And you look at the future of this Houston franchise, Charlton quarterbacks. They originally drafted David Carr out of Fresno State. He was the first #1 overall draft pick. He's the last #1 draft pick to win his opening start as the overall #1 draft pick quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
But after him, they brought in Matt Schaub out of Atlanta, who was Michael Vick's backup years ago. Matt Schaub didn't make it. You know, they brought in several others. They brought in Ryan Mallett a couple of years ago from New England, who was a flop. You know, you had Brian Hoyer, who also started his career in New England. They got rid of Hoyer after making the playoffs last year in lieu of having this kid here, Brock Osweiler.
Yeah.
That looks like a bad decision right now because you could have had Brian Hoyer at about the third of the cost that you're paying, you know, Brock Osweiler, and you would have got the equal amount of victory starters. So when you look at management in the NFL and you're buying potential is only as good as the last game that you played.
Yeah.
It's not your future, it's the past. That's what potential is. What you did in the past, not your future, Charles.
Well, I'll tell you what, a lot of people saw last night in Mexico. And number one, I just want to congratulate all of the people that set the game up down in Mexico City, and what a great stadium, a great environment. The people were raucous. I guess most of them were Oakland Raider fans, Big C. At least that's what it appeared to be. But I want to say that what we saw from the great quarterback out of Oakland, he's still a young player, but he has so much upside and potential to him in Carr. Here's a guy that led, again, another late drive to get the ball down the field and help the Raiders win another game. So anyone can win when you're up ahead and you don't have to worry about too much happening. But he's a guy that drives the Raiders from behind to win a game, Big C. And I think that shows a lot about him and what he can do coming into the rest of the season, especially down the stretch, Big C. What have you learned about Carr that you did not see in Osweiler, Big C? And he's a lot younger player also.
Well, Charlton, it's not just Carr, but, you know, if you look at the 2 hottest young quarterbacks in the NFL right now, Charlton, they both wear number 4, okay?
Yeah.
And neither one of them was a #1 draft pick based on the sayings of McShay and Mel Kiper.
Yeah.
These draft gurus who know all about the quarterbacks that were coming out.
Yeah.
And
right.
if you look at the quarterbacks that were taken in front of both of these quarterbacks in both of those seasons, Charlton, they outperformed all of them in their short NFL careers.
Yeah.
So when you look at these guys that are so-called experts out there telling teams who they should play and who has the best upside,
yeah,
they're guessing. It's a turkey shoot with these guys, Charlton. Just like I went out and got a couple on the day. So I took my gun.
You mean you got Mel Kiper and Todd McShay today, or some turkeys, Big C? Please don't hurt him, Big C.
I was more accurate with my shot there than with
I think out of Northern California, there's a rapper. He's kind of retired now because he danced too hard when he was young. But MC Hammer, the great MC Hammer, had a song called "Please Don't Hurt 'Em." So what next time you catch those turkeys, maybe they'll have MC Hammer playing in the background, Big C. But I also want to just get on a few more things about the world of college football. And I know the rankings came out today. But did you say, there's so much talk about should Charlie Strong have a job at Texas because he got rid of some bad characters from the team? And even the great Earl Campbell said, well, the good old boy boosters, they just want to win. They don't care about the character of these athletes, Big C. But Charlie Strong, a man that's trying to, you can send your kids to his care under his tutelage. They may not make it to the NFL, but they're going to leave a better men than they were when they got there. Contrast that with what went on with Notre Dame today, Big C.
Well, and that's what Charlie Strong has been about, Charlton, his entire coaching tenure, whether it was at Louisville, whether it's been at Texas. It's been about the quality of the student athletes, the true student athletes. Where, in contrast, you look at Notre Dame, this is a team that's 4-7. But it's okay because of Notre Dame have a white coach in Brian Kelly, Charlton.
Yeah.
But when you look at the scandals that started at Notre Dame prior to the season, they have 6 players arrested, Charlton, in the week before the opening kickoff.
Wow.
And yet 5 of those players dressed, Charlton, for that opening game. So it proved that Notre Dame didn't care anything about character or academics. Because the NCAA came down today, Charlton, on Notre Dame, where they have to forfeit all of their wins from 2012, where they were 12-1, Charlton, as a team and played Alabama, where they went out and watched Alabama win a national championship.
Yeah, I remember that game.
Okay. and the following season, Charlton, when they were 9-3, so that was 22 wins they had to vacate.
Yeah.
22 wins because of academic improprieties going on in Notre Dame, so lack of institutional control. And this is not the first time, Charlton, Notre Dame has been in this type of situation with its players, where it's had players expelled or suspended. I go back to 1974, Charlton, one of the little known things, and this was way before ESPN, so this is not a story that you're going to get on ESPN or Fox.
Yeah.
1974, Notre Dame had 7 players dismissed from school for sexual improprieties on campus. The same scenario that went on at Baylor that cost Art Briles his job. The same alleged situation that went on at Baylor. Now, Eric Parseghian took no sanctions from Notre Dame because of these improprieties with his players. It was sort of like swept under the rug. But Notre Dame has a torrid past in history of players doing these type of things, Charlton, because if you think about across the street, there's an all-female university across the street from Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And so a lot of things go on that get swept under the rug because this is that good old boy Catholic university.
Oh, yeah.
That's above everybody else.
Yeah.
But if you look at the underlying history of Notre Dame athletics and the problems that its players over time has gotten into, we hold Notre Dame to this prestige status because you have touchdown Jesus on campus and the library and all of that.
Yeah.
But their torrid past is as bad as any university in college football, and it goes to show the NCAA is just not going to tolerate it anymore, stripping the university of 22 victories over a 2-season span, Charlton.
Well, remember under the great Lou Holtz when they had the great rivalries against the University of Miami Hurricanes, and they were coached by the great Jimmy Johnson, Big C. Even the people, touchdown Jesus, pristine Notre Dame that never does anything wrong, even they had put out T-shirts called Catholics versus Convicts. Okay, if you think about that Catholics versus convicts thing, this is coming from a Catholic university, a private university, and the administration, they said nothing wrong with having them wear that T-shirt. That's something that should have been banned because it was a hateful thing, and it also had a racial slant to it.
If you look at it, if you look at the status of the Miami University Hurricanes at that time, where it was a predominant African-American roster, mainly the starters, you know, had a predominant African-American team that many of those players went on to play in the NFL. But here was Notre Dame basically calling these black athletes convicts, okay?
Yeah.
That they were criminals, that that's the only people that can come there. And many people don't understand, Charlton. University of Miami is a private university, just like the University of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So everybody can't get in there. So their academic standards are the same as Notre Dame's.
Yeah.
So when Notre Dame is saying that they're all convicts at Miami based on African Americans, and they have just as many African Americans in Notre Dame as Miami did.
Yeah, and when you think about that, everybody knows there's always been a racial issue in the country. And the thing I love about Big C Sports, and why I truly believe, and I thank the good old boys from the Black Hole for calling us the #1 sports show in the universe, is because we do it freestyle. We do it impromptu. There's no producer in our ear. We're not reading from teleprompters. I told you before, Big C does the show from a boat in the swamp, swamping alligators and swamping flies and catching catfish with one eye open. And he doesn't wear makeup as far as what I've been told, but ESPN went down there. They had makeup on Julio Jones, Big C, so I can't confirm or deny if you wear makeup or not, Big C.
Well, they're not all that
That's funny, Big C. But I do want to bring this up because in the world of college football, I remember we talked about just yesterday on the program 128 Division I colleges. I think there's 12 or 13 African American coaches, and the good old boys down south, they are chomping at the bit to let go of Charlie Strong. I think that would be a wrong move, because the man has character. Now, you can get a lot of good old boys that will get you on academic probation, like what Notre Dame is probably about to go on. But they have
probation. Oh, yeah. They'll get at least a year probation behind this, Charlton.
Oh, yeah.
And should be even more, because if you look at what they've done to some of the universities over the years, Charlton, you go back to SMU back in the 80s when they got the death penalty, and they should have never done that to their university.
Yeah.
They should have never did that, you know, to those players, to take away football for 2 years. But then it all depends on which university it is, Charlton. If any university was to ever get the death penalty, it should have been Penn State.
Yeah.
So for the way they operated recklessly for a decade or more under Joe Paterno, allowing the scandalous Jerry Sandusky to do this to these young men, they should have gotten the death penalty in a university. But Charlton, when you look at it, they were a heritage white university mainly.
Yeah.
You know, Main Street. Oh, you know, they're more outstanding than that.
Yeah.
So what happened to these kids? The NCAA basically turned their back on it.
Yeah.
Now we have the same type of scenario for a second time with Notre Dame. We had the sexual misconduct that they had in 74. Now you have this situation with academic misconduct.
Yeah.
So what the NCAA has called other universities before is lack of institutional control.
Yeah.
But now with Notre Dame, let's go after the interns, the academic advisors, the ball boys and stuff. Let's go after them. Let's not go after the head coach. Let's not go after the AD. These are the people that are in charge, Charlton.
So is that...
You know, you're going to go after Charlie Strong saying it's his fault that Texas is losing. Whose fault is it that Notre Dame has to forfeit 22 games, Charlton?
Well, maybe they're blaming that on Jesus. And speaking of blaming it on Jesus, this segment is sponsored by the California Lottery. What can a buck do for you? We know that tomorrow's Powerball is up to $300 million, almost $350 million, Big C, from what I understand. And that's also won by Charlton and Big C Sports. But we're going to pray on it like Notre Dame prayed that they wouldn't get caught, Big C. But Big C, well, is praying to Jesus going to help us win that money, Big C? Your thoughts?
It was the same money Notre Dame was playing. Somebody's going to catch it.
Oh, my God. And he said, you know, there's a sign outside of Notre Dame. When you're walking out of the locker room down to the playing field, there's a sign that says, play like a champion, or maybe it says pray like a champion. They were praying they didn't get caught, basically, but I guess they didn't pray hard enough when it comes to Jesus. But when I come back to just something it's kind of touching, it touches a nerve, because when we look at the great colleges around the country, and there's so much push on the African-American athlete. And I hear the good old boys salivating how the rankings came out today for college football, Big C. And I think you good old boys down south, you guys have a lot of influence. You know, they always put Alabama #1 just because they don't lose. Okay, Big C. So, yeah, okay.
We got to go
I understand. And they got Ohio State up there in Michigan, and then Clemson. And Washington is #5, but Ohio State and also Michigan. One of those guys will get knocked out this weekend when Urban Meyer plays the great Jim Harbaugh. And I'm looking at Ohio State winning that game just because they have a better quarterback situation. Michigan's a little bit banged up, Big C. But I just want to get your thoughts on this. Again, when you talk about Notre Dame doing what they did, how much media was covering that story, Big C?
Well, Charlton, when you look at it, they're not going to ride Notre Dame. Another lesser university, Charlton, they're going to be trying to get the death penalty. They're going to go in, they're going to lambaste the coach and all of that. But, you look at it, and with Kelly, they're going to give him a free ride. They're going to say, well, he was not knowledgeable. This is something that went on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And he didn't have enough, he didn't have enough people to pay attention to it. Charlton, if the NCAA can come in and find this, okay, an outside governing body, you're going to tell me the people at Notre Dame, one of the top academic institutions in America, did not have a governing body or policing of their own academics and athletic departments, Charlton?
Wow.
This is something that's known internally. They just always hope they don't get caught. But in this day of multimedia, Charlton, we got too many tweeters. We got too many texters. The minute more than one person knows something, Charlton, you no longer have a secret, okay?
Well, speaking of secrets, I just want to say, ironically, how we mix sports, we mix religion and politics. It's all the same because everybody's competing for the next black athlete when it comes to college football coaches and college basketball coaches, etc. They're all competing for the black athlete the same way they compete for the black vote. But I want to bring this up because it's part of something that's really sinister in a sense. We have this presidential-elect Donald Trump, and he's telling people how he's going to bring jobs back to America. So it comes out today on CNN that he's involved with over 150 companies, in his business, over 150 companies, and 28 of those are outside of the country. And they are just opening up a $100 million plant down in Latin America, and that's not to employ Americans, Big C. Your thought on him bringing jobs back to America, Big C?
Well, this is a situation where he is excelled from 2020, Charlton. He blasted it. But, think about where all the steel has come from and all the buildings that he's constructed over the decades. It comes from China because he can buy cheaper steel from China than what he can here in the U.S. So when he's talking about saving American jobs, and yet he helped American jobs leave the country. That's the thing that all the people, and now they're starting to see all the stuff that he said is not going to resonate to fruition, Charlton. He was a lot of talk. He was free will talking during the campaign because, honestly, he didn't expect to be elected. He loved the notoriety to build up his business, but now all of a sudden he's shackled with being president of the United States. Which leaves him in a quandary. How do I disenfranchise myself from all my business and partnership interests? And he's saying because he's president of the United States and he has autonomy in there.
He says that people are dumb. That's why.
Not, Charlton, but there's other laws in place saying that you cannot accept things from foreign countries. But he's going to have to as long as he stays in business.
Too late. It's too late for that, basically. He and Putin already pulled off their coup, okay? And so I will congratulate Donald on something. He thinks the American public is so dumb, and there's a fraction of it that is. Here he is.
Even how many people voted for him?
A lot. A lot.
Because he told everybody, I'm bringing jobs back to America. It was like he had a U-Haul parked out back, bringing all those corporations back, okay? Everybody was going to be back in February. That's not going to happen, Charlton. It's wishful thinking, and I'm glad that America has hope.
No, but
we have a brighter future because we always will. But you have to be realistic, Charlton. Modern mechanism has eliminated the majority of American jobs that have gone away. Those jobs that those illegal immigrants worked, Charlton, for decades in America, out in the farm fields, doing that, picking the produce, doing product jobs that people don't want to do, be it in construction yards, Charlton, doing the labor on those jobs. We don't see Americans lining up for those jobs to go out and work in 100-degree heat all throughout a summer day, Charlton. This is not what they want. So when he's talking about bringing jobs back to America, he never laid a platform, Charlton, what jobs he was bringing back to America. Is he going to bring Nike back to America, Charlton? You think Phil Knight is going to leave Vietnam and come back? Toyota cars are Japanese cars. Nissan cars are Japanese. Those guys are not going to start producing. BMW, Mercedes, they're not going to start producing cars. Let me tell you about Ford truck, Charlton. All you got to do is drive across the border to Canada. They've been produced there since the 70s. All the underbodies for every Ford truck has been produced in Canada since the 70s. So this is long before any president that Donald Trump is talking about. We're talking about back to Nixon days, okay? Yeah. So this is a trade agreement that's been in forever. When we talk about plants here in the U.S. that rely on foreign trade, Charlton, to increase their sales, their bottom lines, because the products are not bought here in the U.S., that's what allows free trade, Charlton.
Yeah.
The corporations here benefit from trading internationally and vice versa. So what you're going to do is shut down all international trade, all import-export. So who's going to go out of business, Charlton? All the shipping companies are going to go out of business? These fleets of ocean vessels, these cargo planes, Charlton, they're going to all go out of business because Donald Trump is going to bring all the jobs back into America. There's going to be no need to import anything. So think about the ports. You have one there in Oakland. You got one in Port of Oakland. Port of Long Beach down in Alabama. You got the port down in Birmingham. You know, you got in New York the Port Authority. In Miami, some of the largest corporations in the world, Charlton, operated import-export.
Yeah.
So Donald Trump has said, I'm going to close down these businesses that so many Americans rely on because I'm going to bring business back to America. So you got to lose jobs. You got to lose more jobs than what you're going to gain. And this is what America doesn't understand, Charlton.
Yeah.
So we're not going to import any more foreign athletes. What's going to happen to the NHL, Charlton? What's going to happen to the NBA? Because when you think about the NBA, I believe every team has at least 2 foreign athletes on their team, Charlton.
Yeah.
So they're going to be gone.
Well,
so you're affecting a lot of things. Professional golf, Charlton. How many people on the PGA Tour are from other countries?
Yeah. Well, think about it this way, too. When you think about just the gravity of what happened today, and it's almost like he's laughing at the people that checked his box when they checked for the presidential candidate. I don't care whether it's Hillary or Donald, but look at what just happened. And I don't think even people that really loved his message understand it. He hasn't even been inaugurated. He hasn't even been sworn in yet, Big C. And in the same day that we had the NFL go to Mexico for the first time, I think since 2005, and the Raiders in the Houston, Texas played a game there, here he is announcing they're opening a $100 million plant. A $100 million plant, Big C. And not one American worker is going to be employed there, with all these states that he went to, whether it's Ohio or Pennsylvania or whether it's in Michigan or the Carolinas. And he was telling people how I'm going to be the guy that brings jobs back. And he slaps him in the face, and he doesn't even wait until he's sworn in. That's how brazen he is, Big C. So even these people that believed everything he said, hook, line, and sink, he announces a $100 million plant that he's opening in Latin America. I just think for all the people, I mean, a lot of people don't read, but that's like spitting in your face. That's like telling your wife, hey, before we get married, meet me at the altar. In the meantime, I'm going to go get married to this good old girl, and she's not even part of the country, Big C. And what's the wife going to do now? She, his voters might say, it's okay, we love you anyway, Big C. And speaking of loving people anyway, I want to say this segment is sponsored by United Labor Guaranteed $100,000 life insurance. And you look at treating out the Charlton and Big C Sports. If you're trying to get covered, we do it with no medical questions asked, and we also work with all of the unions under the AFL-CIO, and we're endorsed with the American Cancer Society and the American Heart Association. We're looking to hire over 1,000 life insurance brokers, but you have to be in the United States. Unlike Donald Trump, we're not spending $100 million to open a plant in Latin America as we're asking Americans for their vote. He's not going to give you the jobs, people. I mean, it's crazy, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you always hope for the brighter days, Charlton, than anything. And, people in America want to call themselves disgruntled about the way that America is.
Yeah.
You can't be. This is the greatest place in the world to live, Charlton. There's so many opportunities in America. But Americans have become lazy. Not that all jobs are rough, but Americans have become lazy. We're very picky about what we have. It's just like having choices on a fast food restaurant.
Yeah.
Which drive-up window do I go through? Who gives me the best option?
Yeah.
That's what America has gotten to as far as jobs. We're not going to have all executives in this country, Charlton, but there's menial jobs that people are going to have to work. And so, but we've gotten to the point, if I can't get the job I want, then I'm not going to go to work. So America has to retool itself. And what we lose track of, Charlton, is modern technology more than anything else. I would have loved to have had a computer in my house 40 years ago, Charlton.
Yeah.
I would look at the advancements that I would be at today. But those of us who could not afford a computer 40 years ago, Charlton, think about having a cell phone 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Unheard of, Charlton. Now, you know, we even look at mass transit, whether it's air travel, train travel, whatever, Charlton. We could be somewhere in the world in hours.
Yeah.
Well, that was not readily available for the masses. Everybody can fly now. It's economical. So when we look at how things have changed over time, and you think about it, is Donald Trump going to bring back all the airlines that are defunct? Think about the jobs that went away with airlines like Braniff, TWA, Pan Am.
Yeah.
They went away, Charlton, and now, USA has just left recently, Charlton. There has been dozens and dozens of major airlines that have disappeared, Charlton, over the past 30 years.
Yeah, well,
Donald Trump is not going to re-resurrect these airlines. We have basically 4 major carriers in the U.S. We have American, we have Delta, we have Southwest, and I know there's got to be, JetBlue maybe.
Yeah.
But when we look at the limited number of airlines versus where you had Continental Airlines, Eastern Airlines, these airlines are not coming back.
Yeah.
And every one of these airlines, Charlton, that went away, jobs went away.
Yeah.
So how is he going to re-resurrect an industry that doesn't exist anymore in the plethora of carriers that we once had? So this was a false number that was sold to the American public, and you said they did not read. You got to read the pamphlet when they stick it on your door.
Yeah.
You just can't look at the cover and say, hey, this is great. You got to read the pamphlet because the information inside was very misleading. So I would love to see these jobs come back. I would love to see all these airlines come back, but Reagan, through his deregulation, eliminated majority of these airlines. A Republican president did. So don't blame the outgoing Democratic president for what a Republican president did decades ago, Charlton.
Yeah.
But these jobs, it would be nice to see them come back to America, but you're not going to all of a sudden go out and create 10 million jobs in America to make America strong again, as you said, because you're going to bring these plants back in. It's just not going to happen. It's not economically feasible.
Yeah.
And you talk about tax breaks for corporations.
Yeah.
You can't give them enough tax breaks, Charlton, to come back in and rebuild those plants in America.
Why, I even look at some of the African-American vote, and people, again, vote for who you want to. We're not a monolithic voting bloc, but I asked some of the African-Americans why they want to vote for a guy that's telling you he's going to implement stop and frisk, and they're not looking to stop and frisk blonde-haired, blue-eyed kids, Big Z. They're looking to stop and frisk African-Americans and Latinos, Big Z. And some of them said, well, he's going to put $100 million into the black community and create jobs. Well, how are these people feeling today when before he's even sworn in, he's opened a company, he put $100 million into a plant in Latin America? That's not going to employ black Americans from the inner city, Big C. So some of these people that they believe in anything you tell them, there's always a story that sometimes there's some black Americans, they'll buy from a white man, but they won't buy from a black guy, whether it's insurance or real estate, or even sometimes in an election, the politicians that show up and they want to get your vote. So again, I asked my brethren, my black American brethren that voted for Donald because he said he was going to give them money, Big Z. He's already told you he's going to cut off the social programs. And now they're watching the news today and they say, well, where's my money? I mean, he's already given it to Latin America, $100 million, and he's not even sworn in. So are they going to stand in line behind Latin Americans? I wonder how they feel when they realize that reality, Big Z. One more time before we get into the world of football again.
Well, reality, Charlton, is, like you said, you got to read, you got to educate yourself. The thing about Donald Trump running for president, he didn't run as a politician, Charlton. He ran as a snake oil salesman, okay? He could do and say anything that he wanted.
Yeah.
Because he had no political ties, Charlton.
Yeah.
He had no bridges to burn. And so whatever rhetoric that he wanted to spew out, the real politicians couldn't talk that way.
Yeah.
Because they had built their life being politicians, not snake oil salesmen, and that's what Donald did. And he became president-elect through that.
Yeah.
Now the toughest part, Charlton, is fulfilling all the rhetoric, and we've seen him now backtrack on several things that he already said. He said he was going to repeal Obamacare first day in office. That's not going to happen. He said he was going to put Hillary Clinton in jail. That's not going to happen. You know, several other things, Charlton, that he's sworn to the American public that he was going to do.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. You don't see him in office for a year. and these things will still be in place.
Well,
you can't do it, Charlton.
Yeah, and one more thing before we get back into the NFL, because, and I say this is important because the NFL blocked him from buying the Buffalo Bills, okay? Just like he bankrupted the New Jersey Generals, he's trying to buy the Buffalo Bills, and they said no. They read, so they know about his past, Big C. But ironically, when he's going to bring jobs back, and I'm talking to these red states that voted for him because they want more jobs back. Well, he already has jobs. He's tied to over 150 corporations worldwide, and 28 are in different countries where he's part of the ownership, Big C. Those jobs are not employing these Americans that he promised to have them represented by his vote, Big C.
You think about this, and you talk about the red states.
Yeah.
13 of those red states still operate under Jim Crow law, Charlton, okay?
Yeah.
When you, in a menial job situation, you can pay an American as low as $2.13 an hour.
Wow.
Think about that. When you talk about you're going to bring jobs back to America, and you have 13 states in the United States that is still legal to pay an American $2.13 an hour. I beg for those people who voted for Donald Trump, go out and feed your family on $2.13 an hour, even though it's a tip job, Charles.
Yeah.
Everybody in America does not tip. Trust me. I've seen it many times being in places where people got up and walked away after receiving great service from a service person.
Yeah.
But these people have to rely on those people. When you only make it $2.13 an hour and you have a slow day and your bills are still the same, you can't make it. But this is a law that's allowed in 13 states in the United States, and the federal government allows this to occur. Is Donald Trump going to go and change those jobs? When he talks about good-paying jobs for good Americans, are he going to step into those 13 red states and say you can no longer, as an American employer, pay an employee $2.13 an hour and get away with it while your profits are soaring through the roof?
Well, speaking of profits, this segment is also sponsored by One Life America Life Insurance Company. We're the leaders in the country when it comes to final expense. We're looking to hire over 1,000 licensed insurance brokers to put people back to work. Tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports at Yes Charlton. That's YES Charlton. And again, iHeartMedia is the #1 media company in the United States of America, and Charlton and Big C Sports is the #1 sports show in the universe, and we're the only sports show in the world that does our sports show freestyle. That means no teleprompters. That means no producers plugged in your ear. And for all of you listeners out there, the next time you watch a sports program, whether it's ESPN or Fox Sports or ABC or NBC or CBS, no matter who they are, I want you to look at how many times they shuffle a paper in front of their hands. I want you to look at how many times they're actually reading a teleprompter. That's a lot like going to a concert and they're lip syncing from a screen as opposed to speaking from their heart. That's what I love about Big C Sports, Big C. And also I want to tell you, no matter who you are, if you want to do something, go out and do it. Don't wait for someone to give you anything. Go out and make it happen. But unlike Donald Trump, if you're going to employ people, please employ them in the United States, Big C, not down in Latin America. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, what's about this? He goes out and builds that wall. How do you think he was started about this?
Well, see, I think
that's what shit right off the bat. He can't build a wall about it. That was another false number that he made during the campaign. I just invested $100 million in opening a plant in Mexico that I didn't tell you people about while I was running for president, telling you that I was going to build a wall and Mexico was going to pay for it. No, but I can't build a wall because now I won't be able to get my products back into Mexico, back into the U.S., where I can turn a greater profit.
Well, that's almost like the guy that walks home. He says, honey, I'm going to be out of town for a week. So he goes out of town on a business trip, but he comes back 2 days early. And because she doesn't know he's coming back 2 days early, she has the boyfriend over at the house, right? So by the time he knocks on the door, the boyfriend says, what are you doing here? He says, I live here. Is that kind of how Donald Trump voters feel? They feel like they were deceived?
Well, I don't know if they feel like they were deceived. It's like they feel like it's going to take time. It's going to take time, what, for you to wake up and smell the coffee?
Yeah, that's funny.
That's the best thing. It's going to take time for them to wake up and smell the coffee. They're sweet right now.
That's funny. That's funny. And speaking of being asleep, I just want to say, when we look at the NFL, and I'm so proud of any athlete that can make it in that league. You know, Brock Osweiler's stealing money, and obviously can't win a game, even though he's getting, what, $72 million, 73, something like that. But I look at Jeff Goff. You know, the Rams they made him their first-round draft choice. We have Carson Wentz, and Todd McShay and Mel Kiper were saying these are two can't-miss franchise quarterbacks. And Carson Wentz, he's playing better, Big C. I like the way he's playing, but he's just not ready to be a star player in the league, even though they want to say that he is. His team is in last place in the NFC East after they got off to a hot start, winning their first 2 games over some really bad teams.
The first 3 games. They went from first division to last in that division. In a matter of 7 weeks, Charlton, they went from first place in the division to last in the division.
Yeah, okay? and even Trent Dilfer was defending how great they are and how he said Colin Kaepernick should be, fired off the 49ers and get out of the league. And here he is accounting for about 80% of the 49ers offense in all their games. But I heard him on a radio station today called The Sports Leader up in Northern California. Nothing about how wrong they were about Carson Wentz and also Jeff Goff. And Jeff Goff, I mean, he can't even get out of the way down in L.A. They put him in under fire, Big C. What did they see that made them think he's going to save the franchise for the Los Angeles Rams? He looked pretty anemic, Big C.
Well, Charlton, this is just the status quo of Todd McShay and Mel Kiper. What a guy looks like. We talked about him earlier, Dak Prescott. How many teams passed over Dak Prescott, Charlton? 3 times, okay?
Yeah.
3 times. A couple of them passed over him 4 times. So, when you look at that, but these other 2 guys are can't miss. Now, he's won more games this season already than what Carson Wentz and Jeff Goff
combined
will win combined.
Yeah.
For the entire season. Not right now, Charlton, for the entire season.
Yeah.
That's what, Prescott has done with the Cowboys. But, he was an African-American quarterback, Charlton, coming out of a Southern school.
Yeah.
That right there was a double knock against him. But, you had Carson Wentz, who got hurt and couldn't finish his senior season in college. He only played half the game.
Yeah.
Okay, he came back for the championship game, but he had been knocked out there. You got Jared Goff, who never won anything at Cal. One time in his entire career was he above 500 as a quarterback in college, Charlton.
Yeah.
One season. So, you really hadn't proved anything. He had great passing yards because he was always behind.
Yeah.
So I think a little more studious work needs to be done with a quarterback and the quality of programs that they come out of, Charlton. What they do in their total body of work in college.
Well,
not just because they have some glitzy stats.
Yeah.
But what is they doing for their team?
Yeah. Well, see, Big C, what I see in this is he he had 4 throws over 20 yards, and they were all incomplete. I mean, a guy that's he's a franchise player for the Rams, and this is why Jeff Fisher, instead of talking about Marvin Lewis, who all he does is make the playoffs, yeah, they haven't won, but he's there. Jeff Fisher hasn't made the playoffs in 13 years. He got a $27 million pay raise and trying to get another one, Big C, and I'm all for it. If you get the money, you get the money. But it's the same thing about, they're asking all the fans to go out and spend top dollar on the ticket, Big C. But when it comes down to evaluation, even Dak Prescott, he was being kind of in the back of his ear. They were talking about him being put on the bench again, even when they were at 9-1 or 8-1, Big C. Now they're 9-1, Big C, and Jerry Jones finally, stopped sipping moonshine or stopped being dyslexic, and he comes out and names him as a starter. And it was so egregious that they had Tony Romo hold a press conference as if someone had passed away or something, Big C, because he'd been replaced by an African-American quarterback. Something's going on in the good old boy state of Texas. I don't know how you guys do it down there, Big C. But speaking of a few more things in the world of sports, Big C, I want to just get your thoughts on the fact that when we look at the NBA, the Los Angeles Clippers right now, and I'm here in Sacramento, they'll be playing OKC tomorrow night, but the Los Angeles Clippers, Griffin's playing really good basketball right now, and Doc Rivers, I was thinking this would be the year, if it is the year, that they actually get to the Western Conference Finals. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, they're playing tremendous basketball. Right now, Charleston, statistically, they are the best team in the NBA. And they have a great wealth of talent. When you look at their roster from top to bottom, Charleston, they have the point guard, they have the power forward, they have the center, who can clog up the middle. And they just have great team chemistry right now, Charleston. They're healthy, which has always been a problem for the Clippers late in the season, staying healthy. And if you remember the playoffs last year, that's when they really got hurt.
Yeah.
Going into the playoffs, you lose CP3 with the broken hand, you lose your team leader, and that was a tremendous difference for them. But Doc Rivers has been a tremendous coach throughout his NBA tenure.
Yeah.
He won a championship when he was in Boston. He's been a tremendous player, but he knows his game very well. And that's the difference in the NBA, Charlton, versus the NFL.
Yeah.
How can you have so many African-American coaches in the NBA, and they're successful, Charlton? When you look at the teams that they coach, they're winning.
Yeah.
And, you had African-American coaches fired for winning. I remember Mike Brown when he was in Cleveland.
Yeah.
He's now assistant in Los Angeles. But he goes to the NBA Finals and gets fired as a head coach.
Yeah.
You know, as an African-American coach. You have coaches who never make the playoffs and keep their jobs for 10 years.
Yeah.
So when you look around, Charlton, but the NBA has more parity as far as African-American coaches than the NFL, and you have to wonder why. You know, you look at the communication level of the players, even in college football, Charlton.
Yeah.
To have people that look like you in a leadership role for athletes is a tremendous social adjustment for them, Charlton.
Yeah.
When you come from these small, humble African-American communities and you go to these large universities that are predominantly white to start with, the coaching staff is white. So everything socially in your life has changed from what you've been structurally brought up in.
Yeah.
And so you have a hard time communicating. And a lot of these players, Charlton, leave these prestigious universities because of the lack of communication. They come in and they find out this is not being treated like I was at home. I'm just a piece here.
Yeah.
No one cares about me. And that's what we look at when we look at the communication on all levels of sports. And that's what you have with the Los Angeles Clippers right now.
Yeah.
You have a coach who can identify with the players. And that's what you had last year, truly, Charlton, in Golden State. How far removed was Luke Walton from the game, Charlton? You got to realize that. He was less than 5 years removed from the game as a player.
Yeah.
When he was in Golden State as a fill-in interim head coach while Kerr was out.
Yeah.
They get off to the best record in NBA history, Charlton. Under Luke Walton, should have been coach of the year.
Yeah.
But you also look at the fine job that he's done going down to the Los Angeles Lakers this year. The Los Angeles Lakers have already won more games than what they had in all of 2015 last season, Charlton.
Yeah. And
they still got over a month to go in the season.
Yeah.
In the first half of the season. So when you talk about the effect that a coach can have, and Luke Walton, by playing with the Lakers, his dad was a great Bill Walton who played in the NBA forever and now is a broadcaster.
Yeah.
But, you know, his interaction with African-American athletes from a young age, you know, as a child being in the locker room with his dad.
Yeah.
At college, Charlton, interacting with these players at the University of Arizona. He got a chance firsthand, and then going to the Los Angeles Lakers, playing on those great teams with Shaq and Kobe.
Yeah.
Down there, getting interaction with these guys, knowing how to socialize with them. And he got that curly hair, so I think he might have a little bit of African-American hair somewhere down there.
You know, miseducation is popular in this country, Big C, just so you good old boys know. But I also just want to run a couple games coming tonight for a Tuesday night schedule. New Orleans is at Atlanta. That's a 7:30 p.m. tip-off. Portland's at New York at 7:30. Chicago's at Denver at 9 o'clock. And Oklahoma City, they'll be in Sacramento tomorrow night, but they're at the Lakers tonight at 10:30 on the West Coast, Big C. Let me ask you this question too, Big C. And when you think about some of the sports that happen all over the country, I just want to say this final section is sponsored by BeneathHisWingsFoundation.org and CYNN Entertainment. When it comes to promotion, Cynthia Evans, she's the best in Northern California. I love to give a little bit of props out to the USA Today Super 25 high school football program. Number one, amen. Now, you know, we talk about betting and all this stuff and why you don't need a team in Las Vegas, Big C. The number one high school football program in all of America, according to a lot of the sports posters and writers out there, they're called Bishop Gorman out of Las Vegas, Nevada, Big C. They're a private school, and they have kids that come from all over to play at that school in Nevada in the city of Las Vegas. And number two, Modern Day Santa Ana out of Southern California. Number three, IMG Academy out of Bradenton, Florida. Number four, DeSoto, Texas. Followed by number five, McGill Tulane out of Mobile, Alabama. So you might know some of those good old boys down there fishing, Big C. In DeMatha, Maryland. DeMatha of Hyattville, Maryland is number six, followed by Centennial, Corona, California. And number eight is Allen, Texas. I think Allen has a $60 million football stadium for high school, Big C. Number 9, St. Thomas Aquinas out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, followed by number 10, Northern Point out of Phoenix, Arizona, and number 11, St. John Bosco of Bellflower, California. When we talk about the high schools, Big C, the transition before they get into the college level is they're going to play in the college rank, okay? But most of these players, most of all of these kids, they'll be hit on by these college coaches, especially they're talking about expanding the college football playoffs. Please, parents, ask these college coaches, what is the GPA of the players you've already had? They want to fire a guy like Charlie Strong for getting rid of the shenanigans at Texas But then Kelly up at Notre Dame, they're on academic probation because people turn their blind eye, Big C. Your thought again, what message would you give to these high school parents when guys like Harbaugh and Urban Meyer and even your good old friend Nick Saban, when they come to town, Lynn Swann, all these good old boys saying, come to our school, what is a must question they have to ask these guys, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I'm going to go right to those high school teams that you talked about. Those top 3 teams, those are all private high schools, so they basically can bring the players in that they want.
Yeah.
Whether that player can afford it or not, they find money to bring those great athletes in. So they're basically, feeder camps for some of the colleges. But academics has always been a strong suit that colleges don't address, Charlton. When you look at Notre Dame, perfect example.
Yeah.
A lack of institutional control, academic improprieties, and you lose 2 seasons worth of games.
Yeah.
So if it's going on at Notre Dame, one of the most highest profile universities in the United States, where else is it going on? And, who is turning a blind eye on it, Charlton? The NCAA. Governing body of all of this stuff. You're going to tell me they only know of one situation that this is going on in, Charlton? When you look at these certain programs and how do they keep getting certain players, especially players, Charlton, who have questionable academics in high school.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they enrolled in college, Charlton. They're graduating early. And I've always been suspect about high school kids graduating 4 and 5 months early to attend college.
Yeah.
How do you get accelerated courses in high school, Charlton?
Yeah.
So that you can attend certain colleges. And when you look at it, only certain colleges are bringing in these kids halfway through their senior year in high school.
Yeah. That's true.
You don't even get to spend Christmas at home. You're in college.
In college, getting ready for free paper.
I've questioned that for a long time. Are you there for the benefits academically of the athlete? Or you're trying to perpetuate your program over the sanctity of having this young man get an education, Charlton?
Well,
because there's no guarantee you bring him in early that he's going to graduate in 4 years or less.
Well, something that's funny, Big C, as we close, and I want to say, everyone, thank you for following Charlton and Big C Sports. It's real sports talk. We're not just going to give you the score. We want people to think, and I think if more people would have thunk and read like we were telling everybody to, I think the NFL says, play 60 minutes a day, and we tell everybody to read 60 minutes a day. You have this guy who just been nominated or elected, supposedly, as the next president of the United States, Donald Trump. He's going to bring jobs back, but he has the balls to say, I spent $100 million opening a plant outside of the country before he's even sworn in. I kind of feel bad for people. Just because you're ignorant and dumb, it doesn't mean that people should take advantage of you. But a lot of people, they just don't read, Big C, and they believe in this racist rhetoric today. I had, for the first time, I think, Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity, they were having a hard time coming up with covering this lie. I mean, they got to admit to say they were also bamboozled too, Big C. What's Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh going to do for a job? We know Rush is probably ordering some more Oxycontin, Big C, but any advice for Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh? They love sports, Big C.
Well, they're going to say it's the left, giving bad information. It has nothing to do with President-elect Trump. It's the left out there trying to get stuff all riled up, saying he's doing something that he did not promise, in the election. But, Charlton, the proof is back to that old analogy that Richard Pryor said. You're going to believe me or your lying eyes?
I believe my lying eyes. My lying eyes, Big Z.
That's the thing. It's going to be a wake-up call for America in many ways. Just like it's a wake-up call in sports, it's a wake-up call today for the University of Notre Dame. To say that you no longer have the power to get away with and skirt the rules of the NCAA. I'm just wondering what's the situation going to be with Brian Kelly, the head coach. Is he going to get a pass on this, Charlton? Because this has happened under his tenure. And I got to think to believe that if it was a minority coach, Charlton, in college football that had improprieties like this, even a Kevin Sumlin, who's had winning seasons every year at Texas A&M, that people would be calling for his head to roll, Charlton. This is the situation we've operated under. But, when you look back, we haven't seen African-American coaches be hit with these types of academic scandals in the history of college football.
Well, I'm sure go ahead, Big C, go ahead.
And because they operate with a level of integrity. This is what they do. They're proud to have the job. They're there for the young athletes, wanting to improve their chances at a professional life, not just in athletics, Charlton, but in American society. And so they work hard at that. But, when you see these coaches that are cheating that are cutting corners, and I don't care whether it's in football or basketball, it has not been the African-American coaches, Charles.
And I agree.
When we turn around and look at that, the double standards will always exist.
Yeah.
It's a social injustice that we have.
So let me ask you, how many times when you hear guys like Trent Dilfer or Dabu Swinney or any, Mike Ditka or any of these good old boys, whether it's Tony La Russa or any of these other college coaches that are saying this guy should sit down and shut up or get the hell out of the country, Boomer Esiason, Jim Nantz, all these guys, they call Notre Dame football. Are they going to tell Brian Kelly get the hell out of the country, Big C, for not being patriotic and putting a great academic institution in trouble? There won't be any flack given to him, but I do want to call you acknowledgement.
We got Sean McDonough, we got Dan Flutie, we got Mike Tirico doing Notre Dame football, okay?
Yeah.
I want to see on the broadcast coming up this week, and I believe they're going to be playing USC. If not this week, the following week.
Yeah.
I want to see which one I'm going to say Brian Kelly must go. When you got a coach with this lack of institutional control, which is no different than what has occurred down in Baylor with Art Brown, which one of these broadcasters is going to say it's time for Brian Kelly to go? He's not going to do it, Charlton. And of all the who he is and the status of the university.
Well, and it's so ironic that there were so many boosters from Notre Dame, and I even heard a lot of them on the radio. They were blasting USC for the impropriety that went on down there, whether they paid people or not. But we know USC was on athletic probation, Big C, and scholarship. They were limited with their scholarships because they were placed on probation. Now here comes the clean Notre Dame, with a real good image, and they do everything right. What's they call Catholics versus convicts against Miami. Now they're going into the South Central Los Angeles to play the University of Southern California Trojans that are just getting off of that type of probation. And isn't it ironic where Notre Dame was saying how we're goody two-shoes and USC does things wrong, but now USC's the clean program and Notre Dame's the one coming in, with some stain on the uniform, Big C, sticking a stain on the uniform. I want to say every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide. We thank you for following Charlton and Big C Sports. We are the #1 sports show on the iHeart Radio Network because they do it freestyle. I challenge anyone to do a sports program without a teleprompter or without a producer in your ear. And I want to tell you, Big C, I do appreciate everything you do calling in from the East Coast, Big C, down south with your good old boys. And as we always say, no woman should ever have to deal with domestic violence. If you know any woman going through that garbage, call 911. Don't make her deal with it on her own. And as we say on every program, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.